Welcome to the Parts Girl Podcast, powered by PartsEdge. We are excited to present our Fixed Operations Summer Camp Series. Your host, Kaylee Filio, will be joined by industry experts to discuss parts inventory control, special orders, lost sales, manufacturer programs, customer retention, and technicians. You're going to get it all in this special series.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Parts Girl Podcast. I have Shaun Raines with me. I'm very excited to interview you today, Shaun. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some really good stuff, but I want to first introduce you for those who don't know who you are. So if you could just give a couple sentence background on, who you are, what you do.
I'm an internet car guy. I've been in it since the late 90s. Worked for some kind of notable companies along the way before going out on my own, that being Reynolds and Reynolds, Reach Local, Dealeron, and then started a couple of my own businesses over the last several years. And yeah, now I run a B2B marketing agency that makes content for businesses that sell services to car dealers, RV dealers, and power sports dealers. And that company's called Hired Guns Agency.
Very good. And you're very busy, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so today we want to talk about fixed operations. We're focusing on that topic and specifically marketing. So I want to know from you, where are dealerships failing in regards to marketing and fixed operations?
Good question. Up until a few years ago, I wasn't usually asked a lot of questions about fixed ops, but I think when our paths kind of intersected, it was around that time. And so again, I appreciate you having me on as far
as... Why do you feel like that you're getting more involved in fixed ops so that people know,
So fixed ops has always been a little bit of an afterthought. Maybe some people say, well, it's not a little bit, it's a really big afterthought. And my time in the industry, most people don't know this, not that I try to make sure everybody does know, but some of the first, I would say, building blocks of my automotive career were actually on the fixed ops side. So certified as a service writer when I still lived up in the state of Washington. And so I have a lot of experience there. I was a service writer at a Mazda independent high performance rotary shop where I was put through a lot of different training, specific training on managing a service department. And this is all kind of pre, the internet blowing up big time. So the early part of my career was in working in a parts warehouse. That's exactly how I got started in the car business. And then that kind of morphed into running service for who was once one of my customers who became my boss. So that didn't really present a lot of opportunities for me later on in all this kind of internet and digital side of my career over the last, 20 something years. But some people reached out to me that knew that part of my early career and said, do you still keep up enough on fixed ops that you would present for us at one of the conferences? And I think it was Digital Dealer was the first one that had asked me about it. And I said, yeah, I actually have a few things that I would love to share. And it was received really well. And I think you and I will get into a lot of it on this episode. So I think it wasn't so much people neglecting that, but it was more that people don't know that I actually know a little bit about fixed ops and can speak to a little bit. I think it was mostly that.
Okay, that makes sense. And then in regards to, where are they failing? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so big question. The dealerships, it's almost, I always feel bad, like, are you failing? It's like, some of these areas where there's still a struggle. And I would say to that and fixed operations, breaking down service, this is going to sound very, I think, Shaun. I think when you think about service, you think about the customer and you have to think about, are we being kind? Are we being thoughtful? Are we being responsive? I've said this to a lot of general managers, parts managers, service managers in the last, say, 3 to 5 years, but especially through the pandemic. The service experience, in my opinion, has to be better than the sales experience. It has to be. And the reason for that is because I've had my own personal experiences and I have stories from friends and family that have had similar experiences where they completely lost the customer's business forever because of something done in the service department. Part of the experience there was so bad that it made somebody say, I'm never, ever giving you $1 ever again. So I think if your dealership isn't making sure that you're really making sure that the service department provides a better experience than the sales experience, then you're failing. You're not doing what you need to be doing. The sales opportunities that also exist in the lane, as people would say, some dealerships are doing a good job here or starting. It's not a new topic, but it's certainly one where there just aren't enough dealers that have kind of formalized a really strong process for making sure that they're renewing people. I've heard people refer to it as that before, where somebody's in for service and they've got the old Tundra, but they're going to be there long enough that, hey, let's go test drive the new Tundra. That would be speaking to somebody like me, although I don't want the new Tundra yet. But it's an example of an area where if you're not doing that, you're missing out on a lot of opportunities for sometimes the easiest way to sell more vehicles. Because my friend Vinny at Strawlid tells me this all the time. He's like, everyone thinks that your best lead comes from your website, which most people say, okay, yes. But really kind of the best lead is somebody who's already your customer and they might be coming in and out for service. Don't forget about those. And then the other two things I would say on failing is the service content on the website and really beyond, wherever you're putting content for service, merchandising, all that, it needs to be so much better, so much more clear. I'm sure we'll get into some of this. From a parts perspective, I'd say just in general, parts management is still a downfall. It's still a struggle. It's an area where a lot of dealerships would say, yeah, we're kind of still failing. That is multifaceted in terms of why. And then I think on the other side, I would still give dealers a failing grade on how well they're doing with e-commerce, or are they really digital retailing out of the parts department too, especially the stuff that's laying around in their parts showroom.
100%. Yeah. What are some of the top 3 things that you see when you're going to dealership websites that they need to fix in regards to fix up?
That's a great question as well. I would definitely say make the engagement with service easier. I always try to tell dealers, somebody told me once, you're like hand grenades and hugs, Shaun, like you'll just blow the stuff up and then you give us a hug. So I'll try to do that here.
Yeah.
With dealers, it's like, hey, the engagement with service has to be easier, meaning it's got to be more visible. The promotion of it has to be like, think of it, I've said this before, it's like add service and parts content to your website in the same manner as if you were trying to sell a car, right? Because they try so different, and that helps them kind of frame it up with, and then that's been the case between variable and fixed ops since the beginning of time, where the way that we're going to promote and try to sell vehicles is always quite a bit different. But top 3 things, definitely engagement, and for me, it's got to be easier, meaning don't make me scroll to the bottom of a page of something that's really monumental. Like I've had that experience where I'm sitting here on a site and here's service specials and I'll engage. And then you make me scroll through a bunch of nonsense to get to the thing that would actually be the call to action that you want me to take. Those are just basic building blocks. But the other I would say is make your top 25 parts available via e-commerce, digital retailing on your site. There's a lot more to that, but
we'll get to
most of the things on the site, it breaks down into visibility is terrible, the promotional, whatever content you're making is terrible, or you're almost making it a virtual funhouse experience for somebody to get to the places where they're going to turn into a conversion result, whether that's for parts or oftentimes it's service. It's just horrible and easy to change. It's not difficult.
No. And then I remember in some of the presentations that you've given, the coupons that happen, like they don't actually happen.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So the coupon experience, coupon, however you like to say it.
Wherever you're from.
That experience is maddening for a lot of people, and the dealers don't realize it. And I'll be nice. I'm always nice, but I'll be very nice and kind regarding the dealer in this regard. Most of the time, a dealer's looking for a strong solution. And in this case, hey, we need something that's a great service coupon. They feel like that's going to be the right thing to present to the customer. It'll absolutely work in terms of conversion dynamics and all those things that follow. Okay, great. But oftentimes I'm thinking no way that the dealer actually go through this experience themselves, because you'll go through and it'll say, hey, click here for the coupon. But then it'll send you yet to another destination for yet another click. And then that will open up where you're going to say, well, do you want to actually save this? or print a PDF. Inspect that. I would just say this, as far as the entire service coupon experience, if you're doing something like that, walk through that as if you're a consumer and literally count how many times it's telling you it's going to do something. If it says print coupon and it literally makes you click 2 or 3 more times, maybe more than that, before it actually ever did click and print a coupon, that's a problem. Number 2, maybe before that, is how many people are printing coupons, right?
No, not very many. I
There
don't even
just
have a
aren't that
printer.
many. So,
I don't
so
have a
if you
printer.
were doing the coupon thing, you probably should be looking at, can you do the digital versions? Because there have
Yeah.
been, we were doing stuff like that years ago, even at Dealeron, where you save things onto your phone. And some of those things were so sophisticated that they even were integrated into the geo-targeting side of, where's your phone in proximity to now you're driving by the dealership, because there's a geofence campaign attached to it. There's a lot of things like that that aren't really difficult, but they're smart ways to utilize things like geo-targeted campaigns.
Do you feel like with the fixed ops side of the website, it's just kind of like handed off to who would be the person that manages the website at the dealership? An internet director, right? Someone like
Well,
that,
you
or
might get a
marketing
different,
head.
you might get a different answer every person you
Every day.
ask. But generally, whoever that person is, there is always more of a consideration around what's going on with the inventory, the vehicles that are new and used inventory. That's
Yeah.
obviously the most dynamic part of the dealer's website. So things break there, or they're not quite right. Or if you use somebody that only refreshes your inventory, once a day, and that's not enough because you're moving, your vehicles faster than that. There's this always a heavy emphasis on sales and not so much on service. And honestly, it would be a really prudent thing for all of the website providers to do, is to make service and parts, fixed ops, a more concerted part of the experience when you're reviewing the site, and opportunities to help the dealership improve. And that typically doesn't happen a lot. I can't speak for all the website providers, but I can certainly say the ones that I've worked for, it's really easy. It's not on purpose. They're not willfully trying to neglect it. It just happens to end up
It just
being
happens.
plays
Yeah.
second fiddle when it shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is like I feel like the people who are in charge of this, it's just kind of, it's not second nature to think about that flow of the website, and it kind of just, what you talked about, things break and they're not going through it as if they were a consumer to see like what is the actual experience. So
Yeah.
very
That's sometimes the best way to identify things that probably need to be changed within the dealership, from whether it's fixed ops or really a lot of other areas, is make yourself the consumer and take really honest notes, be very candid with yourself, look in the mirror, as I like to say, and you'll find at least 1 or 2 takeaways, sometimes a whole lot. And they're not typically that difficult. They just, if you don't see them first, you'll never know that you need to address them.
Yeah, it should be something that's reviewed every month. I
Yeah.
kind of want to focus on parts a little bit, because you do have that, the parts where that's where you started with the parts, which is very cool. I remember learning about that about you. Very unique situation. And I think you really enjoyed it, right? Like that's something when you worked at the
I
parts.
loved it. You're a youngster in the game, Kaylee. I'm not. I like to work on my own vehicles. So a lot of people will say, well, as soon as OBD came out, onboard diagnostics, and then OBD2, and you can plug in the just thing. And now, I have my own code reader at home. I use it on my car, my kids' cars. Like, I've always loved, at least doing the basics myself. The more sophisticated cars have gotten, it's difficult. But
Yeah.
I tell people all the time that my education, working almost 10 years for a huge parts wholesaler that had, warehouses all across the country, I spent a lot of time back deep in the shelves, of thousands and thousands of square feet of warehousing, where I would learn, well, what's this and what's that? And I feel like I kind of learned in more detail the anatomy of a car. It certainly helped me. I feel like what happened with me in parts in the early part of my career, fortunately I was paying attention to all these things. It really helped me when I started actually working as a service writer, because you would have people ask natural questions, which would be a question I would ask, which is, why do you want to sell me a new timing belt when it's my water pump that's leaking and you guys need to replace my water pump? And I would say, oh, well, let me show you the diagram, because on your Honda Accord, right, you see this pulley right here? That's your timing belt. And it looks like it's never been replaced. And at your 60,000 mile service interval, it's going to need to be replaced. And your water pump has failed and your car's at about 47,000 miles. So it would be early, yes, but we're already taking it off to get your water pump off. So do you want to put a new one back on? It's an extra $45 or whatever. And I tell you, what did it take me? 30 seconds to tell you that little story. But being able to take that 30 seconds with somebody who is trusting you to tell them the truth about what needs to be done on their car makes all the difference in the world, right? And so working in the parts warehouse, I felt like helped me understand the anatomy of cars better. And I think it made me a far better service writer. So
Absolutely. I think it does. I think wearing parts and then going to services really gives service the upper hand. And I feel like, and I don't know if it's possible in dealerships, but they should, swap people around, like have a service writer sit in a parts counter chair for a week. And so they can really learn, maybe not make that their job forever, but like, it's like walking a mile in someone else's shoes. I feel like I say that a lot, just like,
yeah,
but they're so busy that I don't know.
Yeah, maybe difficult to pull off in practice when it's like, hey, we just need enough technicians to keep our bays, full and moving. Or, hey, we're just trying to get enough people to get back in here and help us sell cars. I know the staffing is always an issue in dealerships, even if we didn't have a pandemic and send everybody home and now nobody really wants to work or whatever, you have a hard time finding good labor.
Yeah.
Even before that, it was difficult. And I think if you do get to a point where, from a personnel standpoint, your dealership's like running pretty good, I don't even know if I would wait. I think I would probably put it into my planning right now and say, hey, Kaylee had this great idea. We need to cross-train people a little bit. Doesn't mean that's going to be your department, but having a really strong working knowledge of all of it is it's important. It shouldn't be just one or two people in the dealership are pretty familiar with all departments. It makes the dealership stronger the more that everybody's together. But we silo a lot, right? We silo off those sales meetings, right? Sales and parts, it's like, I don't want to go to that. Our service and parts, we don't want to go to those meetings. And I get that part, but there probably needs to be a little bit more concerted effort on making people really familiar with all those departments, because your customers interact with all of them.
Yeah. So why not make everyone interact with everyone? So that's a whole other subject. I wanted to talk about parts, because actually I'm going to silo parts and say, like, instead of big stops, we're going to talk about parts. And so in regards to parts, I feel like it needs more attention. We need to talk about parts more. I mean, would you agree that, I always want to say, like, we want to talk about parts more, but we don't want to separate the two, but we kind of do when I say we need to focus on it. So
yeah. Service typically gets more attention than parts does when we're talking about fixed ops. I've mentioned that a lot of times. You've probably heard me say that, actually, because it's true. Usually when somebody says we got to do something in fixed ops, they're talking about wanting to improve the service experience. They want to do something on the website that improves that experience or starts the experience with the customer maybe on a better footing. I get all of that. But when you say, hey, does the parts department need more attention? The answer is yes, 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 always has, maybe always will, but absolutely it does. When you think about the North American parts industry has been $26+ billion since a couple of years ago. I mean, it's such a huge part of what goes on in the dealership. Better management for sure of the department across the board.
Yeah.
Almost always, and you guys at PartsEdge know this better than anybody, but almost always it decreases costs and increases profits, right? Yes, it brings parts management into a better place, just whatever your biggest problem was. Maybe you had an obsolescence problem, or you too many idle parts, or maybe you're relying too much around what the factory tells you should be doing through like ASR, and you have abandoned the things that you knew worked really well for you, just kind of managing things in your DMS. Like you'd have a few guide points in your DMS. There are a lot of things. I mean, I'll defer to you in terms of what else you want to kind of dig in on, but does the parts department need more attention? Yes, yes, and always yes.
Absolutely. And just the challenge with, because you kind of touched on it a little bit, with moving idle inventory. What are the challenges with that you're seeing? I mean, I know how to answer the question, but I want to hear from you and your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, well, again, just my perspective, but definitely I think one of the biggest problems is the dealers still kind of figure out is, oh gosh, we're still dealing with idle inventory stuff. And there aren't a whole lot of options. I think that's part of why it still remains challenging. One, you want, your goal is always that you want to manage the entire department really efficiently from the get-go, right? And so whether you're following, the kind of automatic stock replenishment guidelines versus you kind of done it on your own and you do that mainly through the DMS or whatever,
Yeah.
you're still potentially going to have these issues in terms of challenges. We get to a point where we haven't moved enough, so we've got idle inventory, some of the obsolescent stuff around, and what are the options for dealers? Well, they can go the DIY route. Let's do it ourselves and sell it all on Amazon and eBay. But it sounds great because everyone's familiar with those two brands and like it can't be that difficult. But there are some challenges to that. There's cost to that. For some dealers, it's significant because if all of a sudden you're like, well, we want to get rid of these parts, and now it's going to cost you, $850 a month. Plus, you're going to start competing against people who are really capable and they've already been doing it on Amazon and eBay, not to deter people, but it's to help people, your audience, understand there's a reason why some dealers are like, that's not for us. So then what else do they have to choose from? Auction, easier solution, but the dealership's probably not going to recoup more than maybe 10% of what they paid for those parts. You can go to a broker service, which will match you with people that want to buy them, but those are all going to be heavily discounted. So same thing. If you're trying to recoup much of your costs, you're not going to be that happy. And then some people are like, let's just write it all off, which is 100% lot. And, if you're in a situation like that, one of the things I would say is just a bit of an antidote. If I were in a dealership and they wanted me to Shaun, just spend your time with the parts department. One of the things I would be doing is I'd be engaging whoever is doing our digital advertising for us, specifically in paid search. And I'd be drilling those people on, hey, could you guys start running some campaigns for us, shopping ads specifically on these specific parts? And I'd be going through and I'd be identifying the parts that I think are maybe a little bit more rare or have a little bit more value, right? There's potentially always parts in the dealership that, I don't know if we're going to be able to get rid of some of these, right? Maybe some awkward special order or whatever. But there's also usually some that, it might be worth, especially the low cost of running things through shopping style ads, that you might be really surprised. And I've used this example before because somebody's like, well, what's an example, Shaun? I'm like, well, if you were into old Toyota Celicas or Toyota pickups that had like the 18R, the 20R, the 22R motor, they kept the same motor in those handful of Toyotas for many, many years. They were like bulletproof. You just change the oil and they'll go for hundreds of thousands of miles. And the early ones were all carbureted. So if I were an enthusiast, and there are people out there that have everything, that are keeping every single thing alive. If I was an enthusiast that had an old Celica or an old pickup and needed a carburetor and somebody had one of those on a shopping ad, it's going to find me based on all the things that I search and the way that Google shopping ads work. I would be experimenting with some of that as a bit of a hybrid. So maybe you choose one of these other things that are challenging to move your inventory, but you also start to do something on your own, like take it into your own hands and get creative. That's one of the things I'd be doing because it's still a challenge for sure.
And I feel like parts managers naturally have that understanding or know, like these are rare. Someone, a do-it-yourselfer, or someone who collects vehicles and all that, may want these parts. So I think it's there. It's just the ability to do it. And I also say, like, with e-commerce, with wholesale, all those different, I would call them departments of the parts department. They're all efforts, and it's like how much time you want to spend on, focusing on that, and how much money are you actually going to get from it. So my concern with it is, like, I never want parts managers to focus solely on the obsolescence part or the idle inventory part of the inventory, because you can make your money back from it, but you know what I'm trying to say.
How much effort do you want to put in to get back, perhaps maybe a small return? And as they say these days, the kids say, you got to make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, kind of thing. And I think that's fair. I will say this, as far as moving a lot of the methods that dealers have available today, like the Amazon eBay one is a good example. If you're going to try to do that, you're going to identify parts that you think are going to go, like you think they are going to get a green light. Might take them a few days or a few weeks, but you're
Right.
not going to put something out on Amazon and eBay that you think doesn't have a chance to sell. Well, the same exercise of going through and ranking, right, all of those and putting them in the, hey, yeah, well, let's go try to sell them on Amazon. That same thought process is exactly what you would do if you were going to engage your digital marketing provider and say, hey, we're going to send you this batch of parts with pictures so you can run some shopping ads for us too. It's the same process. And I would do that before I would actually try to sell them on Amazon.
I agree with that. And are there any solutions out there that can help dealerships with that side of things?
There are definitely e-commerce solutions out there. Not many of them are tailored to kind of what I'm, talking about. So now
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be like, see, there's nothing easy, turn on the light switch and it works. And, I won't give them free promotion. I'm sure they'd love it. But and I think you guys even call out some of the known, shopping cart for automotive parts department companies are out there. And I don't have a dog in the race. I mean, I'm sure they're all wonderful or somewhat wonderful or whatever. But with this, I think it goes into another category where, one, the dealership has to get over the fact that they're afraid of shipping. Like, what are we going to do with the shipping? How do we figure that out? In some cases, it may be best for a dealership to consider actually building a Shopify environment, because they'll get to control exactly what they put in there. And they don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, now we have 500 different parts all the way down to a valve cover grommet or something obscure like that. They miss out on all the opportunities to sell the stuff that's really flying off the shelves. And so I would say, as far as, the solutions that are out there, if anybody happens to listen to this and they're like, we do exactly that, more catered. As you know, I've spent some time with business out of Canada that was getting into this exact type of business. They're the only ones that I knew that were headed down this path. And basically it's because they have a big product information management technology where they can take in all those parts and figure it out, but they can also do the same thing for somebody. And I think they advise this. I think it's kind of their main strategy now is establish a private catalog, put it into a Shopify site that can be integrated into your primary website, which is easy to do, and then control how much you're able to stomach, right? Because some people will bite off more than they can chew, and they don't need to do that. So take your top 10, take your top 20, take your top 25, get everything in your parts showroom, right? Get all of that stuff on your site, available to sell. It's a little bit time consuming, but it's worth it. I have a couple of clients that are in the RV industry that we did this very thing for. We took their top sellers and we put them all on their website so that they could sell. And it literally opened up, revenue that they would have never had previously, right? They're selling product that normally collects dust, not that people don't see it. It's just there, right? It's just there, but not available to the people that might be doing a search where it shows up. So I would definitely say, look at Shopify if you don't have any other options, and start small.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it sounds like some of the stuff you're talking about isn't exactly idle inventory. It's stuff that
Right. Yeah. That doesn't have to be idle inventory.
Yeah. It's just that's part of it. Because I think the biggest thing I always talk about, and I feel like I'm kind of going off subject because I feel like why hasn't anyone figured this out, is the accessories of vehicles. And when you buy a car, that's like the first thing you want to do is start browsing all the cool stuff you can add to it. And I think you have the perfect example with your Tundra. You wanted to add a wireless charger. And it was not easy to get. It's like, I don't know how dealers need to figure. There's got to be an app, because I bought a Bronco, so I downloaded the app. It's all, there's technology attached to the Bronco. Well, why don't I have accessories, access to accessories on that app so I can buy all these cool things? Someone figure this out.
Great question. Yeah, again, I think some dealers recognize, Jeep, guys selling trucks, they will realize, okay, we should do something where we have, an accessories department. I don't know the answer to why more dealers or all dealers just don't do that by default. I don't know.
Yeah.
When Scion came out, the Scion vehicles were specifically marketed in a way that you couldn't buy one without seeing all the other ways to accessorize whichever Scion you purchased. and especially the one that was the little box on wheels, and people are doing all kinds of crazy trick things to that. But it was, it was in advance, they had thought that's what we want to be able to put into the market, is a product that's really easy to accessorize, and here's all the cool things you can do to it. And why we don't do that with, I know that there are a lot of vehicles that people are like, I just like it right off the lot. It came out of the box. I'm good with that. I don't want different wheels. I love the wheels that came on at stock. I know there are a lot of vehicles that are made like that people don't want to do a lot of customization to. For every one of those, there's probably at least another that you can do a lot of accessorizing. And you're right, my Tundra is a good example. And it's not even an accessory where people will be like, well, I don't know if I want to lift my truck because maybe it will void my warranty or part of my warranty. Or, like truck guys will get concerned about, does the manufacturer warranty get voided if you do certain things around suspension and things like that. But putting the wireless charger in the center console of a Toyota Tundra that you could have bought, the version that it comes in. Mine, it didn't. It had just about everything else on it, but didn't have that. And you remember that story where I was looking all around for it, and I found it on a Toyota dealer's website where it looked like you could buy the part and set up install and schedule the whole thing. And the whole experience on the dealer website was a train wreck. One, you just couldn't fulfill any of the stuff that you wanted to do. And it frustrated me so much that I was like, well, now I know that I can go buy that part somewhere. And then I found on YouTube how easy it was to install. And so I bought a factory version of the part cheaper than this dealership was selling it for and installed it myself in about 30 minutes. And it's one of my favorite accessories on my Tundra. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I think I remember that story because we have a Tundra, and I think that's a cool accessory that we have not added to ours. Probably because it's not easy to do, like you said. Well, it is easy once you find it, but
it's pretty easy. Yeah. Next time I'm in Arizona, I'll stop by and I'll do the install for you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, please. Well, you have to just stop by anyways when you're in Arizona. Well, I think that's it for that's it for the show today. I feel like we covered a lot. We talked about the marketing for fixed ops. We talked about parts. We talked about idle inventory. Do you feel like there's anything you want to add that we didn't talk about that, is important to what we were talking about?
Well, I think the last thing I would say, there's so much to unpack here, right? And that's what you do, having these conversations with people. I think the last thing I would say is just for any dealers that are watching, tuning in, and listening to this is don't forget how important your staff in the service and parts departments are relative to your customer's experience and how loyal they feel to you, especially the service advisors, but it really goes for the parts folks as well. They're still part of your overall experience that you're providing to the customer. And at the beginning of the episode, when I say I think that the service experience that needs to be better than the sales experience, I'm not kidding. And that means that your service advisors and your parts people, they oftentimes are talking to more customers or potential customers than your salespeople. Most of them do. It's not even close. And they generate more business than sometimes they're given credit for in comparison to the rest of the dealership. And the level of the percentage of that business that's gross profit compared to selling the vehicles is also one where everyone knows it, but I don't think we give enough consideration to the fact that that's extremely important. And people talk a lot about retention these days. And one of the places that you can absolutely fail in retention is in your service and parts departments. And it's just not worth it. It's too important to your business health overall.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a lot of resources, tools, technology to help with that side. And I think that sales historically has always gotten those resources. And I think that's where we need to focus in giving fixed operations, parts and service, those resources too, because they are a big piece of the business. So
yeah, 100%.
Is there a special way that you want people to reach you if they want to find you? LinkedIn, I'm assuming, is probably a really good place, but is there anything else?
Yeah, LinkedIn's great. If you wanted to drop me an email, it's Shaun, spelled SHAUN, at hiredgunsagency.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, but most of that stuff's personal. If you want anything that's somewhat businessy, that's probably going to be LinkedIn for me.
Yeah. And you do a great job. And we'll have all the links in there too if you guys want to find Shaun. But thank you, Shaun, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us. PartsEdge, the power tool for your parts department. We hope you're leaving feeling motivated, challenged, and inspired.